Well, hello and good morning. We're a little, oh, it's 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started for today's webinar. Uh, we'll let some more people come into the room here, but in the interest of time, we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome to today's webinar. I am your moderator, Chris Arhus, here in the Communications Department at North Dakota Farmers Union. Today, we're here to learn about the North Central Regional Food Business Center and its work to promote local and regional markets, as well as some opportunities within rural development. So today we have with us Kacy Elkins of USDA Rural Development, Cheryl Hills of the Region 5 Development Commission, Lori Sapu, and Chris Gessele of the North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives. So a couple of quick items here before we start. This webinar is being recorded, and you can find it on NDFU's YouTube channel by searching North Dakota Farmers Union. Also, everyone is on mute right now, but if anytime you have a question or comment, please type them into the Q&A box at the bottom of the toolbar in the Zoom window. We'll have a short time for Q&A at the end of each presentation. So, all right, well, we're going to start with Kacy. Kacy Elkins is a Business and Cooperative Program Specialist for USDA Rural Development. She is the North Dakota Program Lead for the Value Added Producer Grant and has been with Rural Development for almost a year. With more than 15 years of federal service, she is excited to be working on a rewarding program that brings opportunities to eligible applicants and to see the impact of this award in our communities. Welcome, Kacy.
Thank you for having me here to participate today. So today I want to tell you about the Value Added Producer Grant, also known as VAPG. This program is designed for viable ag producers that are currently and actively engaged in producing an agricultural commodity that are looking to take their business to the next level by doing something to the post-harvest commodity that will add value and increase the revenue and customers for their operation. This is a national competition program with application deadlines of April 11th for e-filed grants.gov applications and April 16th for paper applications. The maximum award amounts are $75,000 for planning grants or $250,000 for working capital grants. This grant has a one-to-one matching requirement of 50% of the total project costs. Match can be cash or eligible in-kind contributions only for eligible project purposes, with the grant period of up to 36 months. So to be an eligible applicant, you must be an agricultural producer that produces the commodity through farming or harvesting and wants to add value to the commodity using identified methodologies that we'll discuss a little later. And an applicant must meet the definition of one of these types of producers. So we have independent producer, ag producer group, farmer or rancher cooperative, or majority-controlled producer-based business. With the overarching applicant requirement of all four applicants is that they meet the definition of an ag producer defined as an individual or entity that produces an ag commodity through participation in the day-to-day labor, management, and field operations of the farmer harvesting entity, and that they currently produce and own 50% of the raw commodity that will be used for the value-added product, all the way from the raw commodity state through the production of the value-added product. So let's discuss that a little more.
Kacy,
If you,
I apologize for interrupting. Are you sharing slides right now, or are we going to do that later?
Oh, sorry, I thought I was sharing.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
There we go. Thanks.
Okay.
Okay, can you see it?
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, this is the slide. Okay. So yep, so they currently produce and own more than 50% of the raw commodity that will be used for the value-added product, all the way from the raw commodity state through the production of the value-added product. So let's discuss that a little more. If you need to purchase additional product from a neighboring farm or an outside source to make the volume or to add ingredients to the value-added product, that's acceptable as long as 51% of the raw commodity is produced by the applicant. If you're procuring commodity that you haven't produced, you must document and state where the additional commodity is coming from. And that documentation is typically in the form of a letter from the other producer. Okay, moving on to product eligibility. The product must fall into one of these 5 methodologies. So with the first methodology, change in physical state, the raw commodity is altered from its original form to something else that enhances its value, other than preserving for later sale. So examples of that include milk into cheese, fruits to jam, or cattle packaged to package beef for sale. Next, we have locally produced ag food product. This includes any ag food product for human consumption that is marketed and distributed within 400 miles or within the state of the product's origin. Then we have produced in a manner that enhances the value of the ag commodity methodology, where the process used to grow or produce the commodity enhances its value. For instance, free-range chicken eggs or grass-fed beef. When applying, you can select more than one methodology because with grass-fed beef, you have produced it in a manner that enhances the value, grass-fed, and it would also fall under a change in physical state for processing and packaging of the beef. Organic carrots and those eggs are also examples. So another methodology is physical segregation. And the best way to explain this is using an example like GMO corn and non-GMO corn, where they are grown and kept separately from each other in the production and harvest phases. So there's a distinction between the two all the way through to marketing. And the last methodology is the farm or ranch-based renewable energy method. So wind and solar are not eligible because they're not from an agricultural source, but anaerobic digesters could qualify. If you're interested in this, then please reach out and I can go over this with you one-on-one. We do have a fact sheet for this methodology available on the webpage, or I can share it. At a national level, though, we haven't seen many of these projects that use this methodology. So all projects must demonstrate an increase in customer base and an increase in revenue going back to the farm by pursuing the value-added venture. We have 2 grant purpose options, a planning grant or a working capital grant. For the planning grant, funds will be used to pay a qualified consultant to develop a feasibility study, marketing, and business plan related to the processing and or marketing of the value-added project. With the working capital grant, funds are used toward eligible project expenses related to the processing and or marketing of the value-added product. And you may apply for only one option, and there are specific application toolkits to help complete the application. So we have 3 variations on the working capital grants. Requests of $50,000 or more for products that have been produced for less than 2 years are called emerging market proposals. Emerging market applicants must submit both a feasibility study and a business plan. This option is available to all applicant types. Market expansion requests are only eligible for independent producers that are requesting $50,000 or more to expand production of a product that has been produced for more than 2 years, where they want to expand the market that they're currently reaching. For these market expansions, applicants are not required to submit a feasibility study, just a business plan. They will need to demonstrate that a new market, geographically or demographically, will be reached because of the grant. Keep in mind, though, that this market expansion option is only for independent producers. There is also a simplified application for all applicant types for projects that are less than $50,000. Applicants do not need to submit a feasibility study or a business plan. However, they still need to provide supporting documentation to show that the product is viable by demonstrating the increases in customer base and revenue returns for the project. Matching funds. This program has a 1-to-1 matching requirement. Matching funds can consist of cash, applicant or family member in-kind labor, as long as the provided services are limited to 25% of total project costs, most often seen on a working capital request. Match can also consist of applicant-produced in-kind raw commodity, appropriately valued, generally the value of the commodity at its harvest date. This, however, is not held at the 25% limitation and is only for the working capital grant. Third-party cash and third-party in-kind match are also acceptable. In planning grants, the third-party in-kind contribution sometimes comes from a qualified consultant. Match must at least equal the grant amount and can only be spent on eligible expenses from a source without a real or apparent conflict of interest. Now we're getting into uses of funds. So eligible uses of the planning grant funds are limited to feasibility studies, business plans, and/or marketing plans related to the processing or marketing of the value-added product from that qualified third-party consultant. There are more options, though, when it comes to working capital funds. Some of the common examples include processing costs paid to non-family processors for labor, commercial kitchen rental, time at a kitchen to process berries into jam, ingredients like sugar for the jam recipe, advertising the value-added product. So not just the farm, it has to be the product. So social media or Facebook costs, billboard or print ads. Swag is not allowed though, so no hats or backpacks with the logo. Website development is considered eligible. Attending a trade show can be eligible if you're there to market the product, but not just to attend to like learn the trade show. And then transporting fees, so not from the farm to the processing facility, but transporting from the facility to a store, things like that, they're eligible. A few limits on the eligible uses include the applicant or family member in-kind labor is limited to that 25% of the total project cost. Also, applicant produced raw commodity may be used as long as it's appropriately valued. And planning funds may not be used to evaluate production of the raw commodity. So the most common ineligible uses include, expenses related to ag production, because this is all after production is complete. Planning, building, or repairing of facilities, we can't do any of that. Or grant funds used to pay the applicant for the raw commodity. And equipment expenses. So we usually consider equipment as costing more than $5,000 with a useful life of greater than a year. Grant eligibility, it has a maximum time frame of 36 months, and it can't extend past that. So if it was only for 24 months, you can extend it up to 12 months additionally. But if you already started out at the 36-month grant period, we can't extend that. So to help applicants apply, RD has developed some tools. On the website, there are comprehensive toolkits for each type of grant, planning or working capital. The toolkits were created based on the notice of funding requirements and contain checklists, an optional application template, and links to required forms and resources. The toolkits include appendices that provide detailed guidance on priority points, required documentation, and matching fund verification templates. The toolkits really are all-encompassing, and though optional, I cannot recommend them more highly. I wanted to show you where to find the toolkits. So you'll start at the VAPG website, and then you'll scroll down to the Apply tab, where you'll, near the bottom of the page, you'll see the application toolkits. They're listed here, and they can also be accessed through grants.gov. All applicants must register on sam.gov and receive a UEI number, which is a free service. And there are also a number of fact sheets available on the website that offer additional information about VAPG, applicants, and projects. Before ending, I just wanted to provide my contact information. And I just wanted to kind of highlight a few of the recent VAPG awardees here in North Dakota. We had Cows & Co. Creamery, LLC, out of Carrington. They have a gelato and cheese production business. There's North American Bison out of New Rockford, and Shepherd Industries out of Nome, North Dakota, where they produce wool for yarn and felted products. So there are VAPG, even though this is a national program in national competition. There are awardees here in North Dakota. So I encourage everybody to apply.
Okay. Well, let's open it up for questions. I've got a couple myself for Kacy. If you have questions, please put them in there's a button at the bottom of the Zoom screen that says Q&A. Go ahead and type them in there and we'll get to them. Kacy, let's start with how about beginning farmers? Is this any restriction on that at all?
No, this program is open for beginning farmers. However, they must already be actively farming. So beginning farmers are usually defined as farming for less than 10 years. So as long as they are actively farming, that would work.
Okay. Can a producer apply more than once?
Yes, however, only one application may be submitted per solicitation. And working capital applicants that have previously received funds on a new application, it must be substantially different than what they had received funds for in the past.
Okay. And if I was going to start this process, is there in my whole schedule of getting something going, when would be the time to start it?
We recommend at least a month ahead of time. So now is perfect with those deadlines. It's it's a little tight, but I would start it as soon as possible.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions they want to ask Kacy? Oh, okay. We got one from Olivia. She asks, can you say more about the connection to sustainable energy added benefit in terms of environmental impact? More and more consumers on a national level seem motivated by social environmental good.
So when you're saying that, are you interested in that renewable energy method? I'd have to look more into that because it's such uncommon for me. I guess would be the first question I've had on that. So could you put your information in the chat, or you have mine? If you could send me an email, I can look into that for you.
Is this a reimbursement or is advanced pay an option?
This is a reimbursement.
Yeah.
Is the program undersubscribed or oversubscribed in your opinion?
Meaning, are people applying? I think that oh, I have the slides for. So in the last 3 years, I want to say there were 2,500 applications received annually nationwide, and 1,100 of those were awarded. So there's definitely interest in it.
Okay. Last call for questions.
Kacy, is admin allowable expense for those that are going to have to deal with the reporting of USDA award? Are they able to write administration fees into, of course, with the 1-to-1 match into their applications?
Not in the preparation of their application, but if it's associated with the value added product, I could see that being a working capital expense.
And reporting during the period of the award is what I'm talking. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, right. Related to the value added product, yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Kacy.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So also with us today is Cheryl Hill of the Regional Food Business Center. Cheryl joined the Region 5 Development Commission in 2006 and has 25 plus years of experience in securing resources through authentic relationships that have spurred equitable economic ecosystems and stewardship commitments in rural central Minnesota communities. She currently oversees 7 lending programs and community development planning in areas of transportation, workforce development, climate, and broadband, and delivers projects related to renewable energy, food value chains, and arts and culture. Under Cheryl's leadership in 2023, the Commission executed the cooperative agreement with USDA AMS to take the lead on 12 regional food business centers with 35 diverse partner organizations serving Minnesota and both Dakotas. Cheryl, welcome and thanks for being here.
Hey, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. Thanks for the introduction. I'm going to share my screen real quick and go to the home page and talk a little bit about the North Central Regional Food Business Center. And we are 1/12. I don't oversee all 12. That would be a nightmare. So I'm pleased to
My
be with you.
apologies.
That's all right. But we were fortunate in 2023 to execute a $15 million grant award with the help of Lori, who's going to speak here in a little bit, and other partners in South Dakota and North Dakota and Minnesota as well. So I want to just share a little bit about who, what, where, when, how this program is. I apologize to all of you. I speak very fast. Pretty sure I'm a reincarnated auctioneer, but we'll get through this real quickly and have time for questions. On the North Central Regional Food Business Center, which you can all see that web link there is northcentralrfbc.org. You're happy to have you go there later if you want to and kind of check out a few things. But basically, as said, this grant was executed in July of 2023, and it is a 5-year award. And so it is one of the 12 centers, and there's a map on the front page of exactly where those centers are. So you can take a look. Of all the 12 centers in the nation, I think we're the smallest in terms of award dollars and in terms of the size of organization running this complex grant agreement. Happy to be in service, though, as we've been working in food value chains and the agricultural economy for over 15 years at Region 5 in the 5 counties that I serve in central Minnesota. So this was a logical progression of that work. And the recipients that we are trying to serve, so those businesses that we are really looking to serve, are all of the businesses within the food value chain. So yes, that's producers, ranchers, and growers, but it's also aggregators, distributors, processors, and food access points. And you know what a food access point is, right, guys? That's your farmers markets, your cooperative grocery stores, et cetera. So food hubs. And so those are food access points. There are 35 partners engaged in this work, as Chris had said. I'm proud to be working with all of those. On the About page of the North Central Regional Food Business Center website, you can see a little bit more about those partners. The intentions are also identified on this site. Like, what are you trying to do? And basically, it's about improving businesses, prosperity, market expansion within the food value chain, all those types of businesses. But important to note, we are talking about small to mid-sized businesses. I'm sorry to all of you that are lovely, successful, and are considered large, but we are really intending to serve small to mid-sized, and that is a definition that is also on this site. So that's our audience. We've also targeted intentionally zip codes across the 3 states that have been underserved by USDA, maybe areas of our 3 states that have not been as successful in securing funding resources in the past. And so there is some intention about how we go about this work and who we serve. More to the partners across, there is a map on this site and where they are. But if I were in your shoes, I'd be going, great, you've got all these partners. What the heck are you going to do for us? They are providing technical assistance, much like our rural development friends at USDA, but a little bit different. There are different types of technical assistance providers that you can also find on this site, and where our technical assistance providers live and work and serve. So think of these technical assistance providers as concierge assistance on steroids for things like trying to find resources to fit your projects and programs that have been improve incomes and viability of those small to mid-sized businesses. There are a few different types of partners here. We're fortunate to be working with all 3 of the farmers unions in the state as coordinators, and you can hover over these rectangles here to identify, kind of see what their role is in the terms of this center. The center is not bricks and mortar. This is a network of people trying to serve the food value chain and the agricultural economy in these 3 states. And that's the way it is for all the centers across the nation. So the coordinators are doing a great job at making sure technical assistance providers across the states are connecting, right? And they are learning more about programs like the VAPG that Kacy just talked about, and many other programs that are out there from state and federal partners and philanthropy. So there's a lot. That's a complex spaghetti factory network of and list of types of opportunities that are out there. And these coordinators are making sure the technical assistance providers know where all those resources are so that you don't have to try to navigate that as a business, which is pretty much impossible. You're already running a business. To the technical assistance providers, I talked a little bit about the, and you can see this, right, guys, when I hover over those squares. Okay, thanks for nodding. The technical assistance providers that I just spoke to are doing more than just acting as a concierge to you on where resources are. They are hired to help write proposals. This is the first time that this has happened in our nation, and we're the only center in the nation that's actually putting this much time and effort into helping farmers and ranchers and food value chain businesses write proposals. That's different, right? Because in my experience of 18 plus years working in food value chain, those small to mid-sized businesses have amazing skills, but creating theories of chain and logic models and work plans and timelines and satisfying all those required documents, even in the VABG that are required, is complex at times. And I don't mean to oversell it. It's complex. So we have decided that it's important to give you those kinds of services out there. That's what the technical assistance providers do. So go up to that map, find where your TA providers are in your place, and then reach out to them. We have obviously evaluation partners that are doing boatloads of evaluation, including, which I feel is extremely important, storytelling. Storytelling about how does this program make a difference in your lives? And that's really important. We can do the quantitative counting all day long. Heine's in the seat, who's got training, blah, blah, blah. It's not about the effort is about the end product. So are we making a difference in the food value chain? That's what the evaluators are hired to help us do. And they're amazing 3 partners. They're different in each state. And they work together to put out reports to USDA. There's a different kind of TA provider. And I'm sorry, those are the advisory TAs. So I was hovering over the wrong one. Let me go back and forth. We have 3 advisory TA providers, 1 in each state. And they're really intended to, and they're listed up here on this list of folks, so you can see who's where. In North Dakota, it is we have the Women's Business Center as the evaluator and as the advisory TA. Those folks are really, it's especially producers group and others in your state that are helping us understand how to bridge cultures and reach out to underserved populations. And that might be veteran growers or businesses, that might be youth emerging, that might be indigenous and tribal communities. And so really trying to be intentional about reaching pockets and populations of which we have not in the past. There's another piece of this, in addition to the technical assistance and the grant writing support that comes to the food value chain in these 3 states, it happens to be funding. The funding is called Business Builder Sub Awards. Business Builder Sub Awards are up to $50,000. There's a lot more information coming on that. We are ready and we are waiting for USDA to launch a press release about when we can put this program out to all of you. And as I said, you have partners out there to help write grants, but basically some of the information is on this page of funding. As again, they are $50,000 or less, no match. The intended uses are extremely flexible. I won't spend as much time on that on this awards as one, it's not open and I don't want to waste your time, but we also will have a webinar on exactly more details about that, similar to what Kacy just did in terms of who's eligible, how do you apply, and the differences between advanced pay awards and reimbursement, of which we are able to do advanced pay with some heavy lift of paperwork, of course, satisfy all of the rules and regs that we do for federal awards. So there's these grants, though, up to $50,000 are really intended to help you do just about anything. Business planning, the soft side, staff time. Yes, it can be used for equipment. $50,000 barely buys a tire on anything these days, but it does sometimes assist those who are really in the beginning stages. And so equipment grants are eligible, but they're much more complex in terms of trying to do some reporting, but they have help with that. So I think there's some interest in that. I suspect that we will have many, many applications for the Business Builder Subawards. The review committee is split by 5 people from each state: Minnesota, North Dakota, and South Dakota. Very diverse folks. Some have been in this space for many years. Others are engaged because they need to represent populations that maybe have not been part of, as I said before, such as veterans and youth and others, emerging farmers. I call them youth as I get old. My apologies. So we have a lot of information on this site, and I'm hopeful that you guys just take a look at it. We also share about another program in the funding page that has just come out from each of the state agencies, and under the resources and opportunities tab. Each of the states are launching a RFSI, which is a Resilient Food System Infrastructure Grant. North Dakota is still in the stages of creating their outline and how that program will roll out. And as soon as that is done, we're happy to put that on there for you as well. Like the VAPG that Kacy talked about, the RFSI has a lot of really good opportunities, but it's really geared more towards the mid-tier. So those that are doing aggregation, distribution, food hubs, some of those folks, instead of the early farmers or ranchers side. So, which is important to help you get products to market. And so the RFSIs, when that comes out in North Dakota, it'll be there, but you're welcome to look at the other states in the Regional Food Business Center and see more about that. And it might be a good time, again, as Kacy said, to work with folks who are helping assist you with writing a proposal if you need that assistance a long time in advance. And so if you look at that, it might be a good idea to get a hold of the TA providers through our center and say, hey, I'm interested in an RFSI when it is launched through North Dakota. And can we start talking about our project now? So I just wanted you to be aware of that. There's lots of workshops and more information and training that'll be on this website. And some of these will be in multiple languages, Hmong and Spanish and other languages, as we're able to transition into more ability from farmers and ranchers that have limited English speaking abilities. And so English isn't the first language, they have great speaking abilities. So we just wanted to share a little bit about the center. I'm really honored to work with the partners in North Dakota on this. And please, if you have any questions, there is a contact us, of course. So if it's just becoming difficult to navigate, hit that contact us. And one of my team members at Region 5 will make sure you get in contact with the right technical assistance provider. Chris, I know that I really want to get to Lori and Chris's presentation next. So if you want, I'll end there and we can take any questions that might be popping up.
Can I just add one addition, Cheryl? The RFSI grant funds are open in North Dakota, so we'll need to get that on the website. Apologies for that. But if you look on the North Dakota Department of Ag website, you'll see information there. And the deadline is April 30th. So our clock is ticking.
That award is really interesting. While it's different and there is a match required, it is anywhere from, I think, 100,000 to 3 million. It's big money. Whereas our awards are $50,000. Thank you, Lori, for mentioning that. And by the way, the Business Builder Sub-Award program will be open for each of the 5 years, and North Dakota, Minnesota, and South Dakota will each receive a modest amount, in my opinion, of $1 million each state. So that's only 200,000 a year. And so it would be competitive. So if everybody asks for 50,000, there might only be 4 awards allocated to each state. And I just want to make sure that I'm thoughtful about sharing that with you, because these applications take a lot of work and they will be extremely competitive. So you're going to want to work to make sure that you have a really competitive project and don't spin your wheels thinking and hoping that there could be an award if the project isn't fitting all the needs of the program. So thank you, Lori, for that. And yes, we'll get that on the site as soon as possible. Of course, with Lori's help as usual. Thank you.
You're muted, Chris.
You're still
Both
muted,
Chris's are
Chris.
muted. Both Chris's are muted.
My apologies. My apologies. Cheryl, if you want to stick around a little bit, we'll maybe answer some more questions afterward. So thank you for that great information. With us now are Lori Sapu and Chris Gessele of North Dakota Association of Rural Electric Cooperatives. Lori is the Rural Development Director on the Rural Development team. She leads rural people through grassroots development. And I just lost the notes there. The grassroots development process, empowering them to create the businesses they desire in their communities. She has been a longtime advocate for healthy rural food systems, focusing on access, distribution, and small meat processing plants. Also with us today is Chris Gessele. Chris is co-op development specialist on the rural development team. Chris's primary area of focus is supporting quality of life in rural North Dakota by helping improve food access in rural communities across the state. Prior to his current role, Chris worked in corporate communications and newspaper journalism. So Lori and Chris, welcome and thanks for being here. And I think we'll have Chris go first. Nope, I think you're on mute there, Chris. Chris, can you hear us? I think you're on mute.
There we go. Sorry about that. So that was a taste of the technical difficulties that I had when we were practicing this the run through here. But thank you, Chris. And it struck me when getting ready for this that I know we might have you to blame for the snow. This is the Conversations Over Coffee winter webinar series. So I think if you update that to spring, then I think that might speed our
We brought the snow. We did.
change. Well, it was excellent too that Cheryl led into our portion of the presentation here, because Region 5 has provided some great leadership for the tri-state region, for that north central region for the RFEC. So appreciate that. So, as Chris mentioned, I'm Chris Gessele. I'm a co-op development specialist with North Dakota Association of RECs. And why we are involved is because as a cooperative made of co-ops, our members are the rural electric co-ops throughout North Dakota. And our primary mission at the association is to serve them. And as part of that, our rural development team focuses on kind of maintaining the quality of life in their communities that they serve and live. And so that's our primary goal. And one of those initiatives in supporting those communities is rural food access. And that's something we've been involved in for a while, and hence our inclusion in the RPC. So one really cool aspect, I think, of the RPC, and Cheryl mentioned that, touched on it, and all the partners that are involved in the effort. And here are the North Dakota partners, and it's a really diverse group who has brought a lot of different expertise to the table, and it's kind of neat to see them networking and seeing ways to work together going into the future. So we have the North Dakota Farmers Union as a coordinator, as Cheryl mentioned, and then we have groups like regional councils who are involved in economic development in their specific regions throughout the state. Then we have the North Dakota Women's Business Center, who Cheryl mentioned is the evaluator, and they do mostly advocacy and business development. We have the local foods experts, such as the North Dakota Local Foods Development Alliance and farms. So they provide that connection to the producers, and they're kind of advocates for the local foods. And then it'd be us, the North Dakota Rural Electric Cooperatives Foundation. And with our technical assistance background, and we do grant writing and business development guidance. And so that serves us well in terms of TA providers as part of the RFEC here. But about these partnerships and seeing those connections that are forming, it's really cool to see those regional councils interacting with, say, farms and the Local Foods Development Alliance, because those regional councils don't do a lot of work and don't live in that local foods world. So it's kind of neat to see that cross learning going on. Public engagement is another really cool component, an important component of the RFEC here. So the regional councils each developed an action plan for the local food system in their area. And then as part of that process, they held public input sessions. And those were attended by producers, by educators, by community leaders. And so that input informed the regional plans. Those regional plans funneled into the statewide action plan that Lori and myself and our team developed or put together. And in addition to those regional plans, we had a statewide producer survey that happened in December that informed our statewide plan. And then we also have a public comment period on our draft statewide plan. It's open now. And you can see that URL there on the screen, I believe, ndarec.com/regional food business center. And that will lead to a PDF of the plan that's on Region 5 site. So I mentioned that statewide producer or that statewide local foods action plan. And I'm here. So we identified some key opportunities that came from those regional action plans and the producer survey, and we came up with 3. And so number 1, increase public awareness and support for local food systems. And that essentially means that we just get the word out about the RFBC's efforts and partners and educate consumers. And the purpose of that essentially is to change the local foods consumption culture and just get the word out about the benefits of nutrition of local foods, the benefits to local economies of keeping that business local, and then environmental benefits of that food not having to travel so far to get to you. It's produced right there in the community or surrounding area and consumed there. The second opportunity, support growth of businesses and market expansion within the food supply chain. And the intent behind this is to make it easier for producers and food businesses to access information, training, funding, and access to new markets, say, such as local producers providing their product to grocery stores and providing that link there. And then the third opportunity, educate and advocate. And that consists of education for producers and technical assistance providers as part of the RFBC. And that's, again, encouraging that networking of partners, cross-learning, and then developing a unified message that can be used in advocacy to advocate for the continuation of beneficial policies and regulations regarding local foods and advocate for new policies and regulations. So to summarize the goals of the state plan, essentially looking to strengthen partnerships, streamline the technical assistance, and provide producers the opportunities to grow their production capacity and access those new markets. And with that, I'll pass it off to Lori, who's the Rural Development Director here at NDREC.
All right, thank you, Chris. As you've just heard, a lot of voices and careful thought have been brought together in that plan to help guide the work of the Regional Food Business Center. So to help get some of those creative juices flowing, I'm going to share an example of an existing project underway. It's based on a successful pilot project in Walsh County, and it's an attempt to replicate that project on a much larger scale and more solidly include local foods. So to lay the basis for your thinking, I'll quickly run through how that Walsh County project operates. We launched this project after learning about the supply difficulties faced by rural grocery stores and really rural areas overall. This project emerged as a pilot project, and it's a shared services cooperative that serves grocery stores in Park River, Edinburgh, and Hoople, and a town without a grocery store, which is Fordville. This infographic helps demonstrate how the hub operates. The Park River grocery store serves as the hub site because they had available backroom space, including walk-in coolers and freezers. So really the amount of space needed was minimal. And through this cooperative business, the grocery stores purchased together from suppliers to increase their buying power. And you can see on the infographic that products are delivered from several different suppliers to the store. So suppliers such as, well, first off, their primary supplier, which is in this case Super Value, now known as UNFI, as well as suppliers of meat, milk, eggs, things like that. Their combined orders increases the volume of orders, in which improves their wholesale costs and their variety. They're also able to split cases among themselves, which is especially helpful for perishable foods, because they can buy in smaller quantities. They're able to sell that product more quickly, keeping it fresh on the shelves. Once delivered, the cases are broken down and sorted by final destination in the back room of that Park River store, and they're loaded onto one truck for transportation efficiencies. This is decreasing the number of trucks serving a single store and the need to pay for moving those trucks. Park River also has a scratch bakery that delivers product to the hub, and it's distributed along with the conventional foods. And there's a potato supplier in Hoople that puts bags of potatoes on the truck to backhaul to Park River. During the pandemic, schools began buying through the grocery stores, and you can see in the infographic, the truck delivered directly to the schools, so there was no need for them to go and pick up from the store. It's proved to be a better, more affordable option, bringing more fresh foods into the school lunch menus. This model works because it gives rural people control. They own the equipment needed to distribute the food in their region to the places needing supply. And it's really just a slight shift in the way food is purchased and distributed. We also installed climate-controlled grocery lockers to provide access to healthy foods for Fordville. And after a few glitches, we're close to getting these operational. The lockers hold ambient, frozen, and refrigerated products. And for people wanting to get their groceries through the lockers, it'll feel like any other online shopping experience. But the big bonus is that the online shopping is local. Those orders are placed through the Park River store using a newly developed online shopping platform. Those orders are then shopped by the Park River employees and delivered to the lockers. As a customer, you'll receive a text message or an email indicating your order is ready. You'll go to the kiosk, swipe to wake it up, and enter your code. And with that, the lockers holding your food will pop open. Once you close the doors, the order is considered complete, and the store will receive a notification that the product has been picked up. And this site is monitored 24/7 by a third party for food safety. And another interesting component is the money that they are generating through advertising on their truck. They sell advertising space annually to businesses in the region, and this generates an additional $6,000 per year to defray the cost of moving the truck. Since the cooperative is operating at cost, this funding is passed down directly to the consumer through reduced transportation costs. And now onto a bit on how this relates to the North Central Regional Food Business Center. Partners in the center are working to replicate this project on a wider scale in the Minot region and broadening the scope. The focus is a 75-mile radius from Minot. And we're referring to this as a multi-stakeholder food hub, where we bring together partners to share in the work and the costs of producing, securing, and delivering food to rural places. This concept is in the early feasibility stage. The intended partners in the food hub are the Great Plains Food Bank and the rural grocers and local producers in the region. We envision this to be a facility that hosts a grocery shared services cooperative, like the one in Walsh County that I just talked about, and to provide space for the food bank to operate, and also operate in the northwest corner of the state, because they're currently lacking distribution space up there. And then we intend to include space for local producers as well. This space will offer shared equipment to remove field heat, lightly process or package their produce, brand their product, or they could aggregate with other producers. So within this study, we are learning whether there is an economic benefit for forming a rural grocery purchasing cooperative that could aggregate in this hub and identifying the number of grocers interested. We're learning the volume and the type of local foods being produced, whether there are producers interested in expanding, and the level of interest they have in being a partner in this food hub. In other words, do they feel there is a need for shared space and distribution help in this region? And we are learning the needs for accommodating the food bank distribution activities. And of course, discovering whether there is an appetite for change. Do the people who live there want to try something different? Your Regional Food Business Center team is working to provide that technical assistance needed to give this concept an opportunity to solidly emerge by collecting the data, studying the feasibility, business planning, and organizing groups of people who can benefit from this hub. This is just one example of the power we can gain from working together, but it's not the only example. We're looking forward to assisting producers interested in expanding, processing, marketing, or distributing in any manner. And this is just one level of investment needed to strengthen our local food supply chain. And with that, I turn it back to you, Chris, to address any questions.
Okay. Thank you, Lori. Have you, there we go.
Can I just add a couple things to that great presentation?
Absolutely.
The work is just phenomenal. It's so great. I just want to share, I think, one, the statewide plan that Lori and Chris put together with many partners over a really robust civic engagement process is really intended to help food value chains be competitive in your state. So take a look at those strategies that Chris said, because writing those in, it gives relevance to your applications and make them more competitive, even to like a food value-added producer grant or others, many others, to say this is seen as a priority in our state and this is how we know why. So that's important. The food hub approach works. And one of the things I love about it, and we have one in central Minnesota as well, is that it's rural serving rural. And that's sustainability in our places. And that doesn't happen. A lot of times our food ends up going, and that's great too, but to other markets, more urban markets, as you know. And so that's a sustainability issue for us in rural places. We have food insecure people in rural places as well. This is a way to help make sure that in the face of economic or environmental or pandemics that come up, that we can feed our people. And so I love the food hub approach. And lastly, the regional councils that are involved. I just think people are maybe asking, well, we have extension and we have all these other groups that are working in North Dakota. Why them? And they haven't really been at our table all that much. Truth, that is truth. But I'll tell you, those folks really have historical expertise in project development and grant writing and working in those federal systems and navigating them. And so that's why they're there. They're planners. They know how to plan and help find those resources. And I think that, you know, from my perspective, it was, if you do what you've done, you get what you've got. And we need to do better. And so to bringing in folks that have historically not been as engaged in the food value chain or the agricultural economy was another way to have more hands, lighter work, and help all of these guys that are on this call continue to meet their missions and do their great work. So I get that question all the time by them. So I just thought I'd clarify.
I'm glad you jumped in with that, because yeah, even though they haven't lived in that local foods realm, they've dove in. So they bring all that expertise that you mentioned, and plus they're learning and growing and fully committed. So yeah, I'm glad you added that.
That's a great segue. A couple of questions here. Are there any partnerships with county regional public health departments, like local, like Central Valley Health in Jamestown or North Dakota Human Service Centers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So Olivia, there are partners in this effort that are written into the grant and working as part of the RPC. And then if you'll check out that state plan, there are a lot of resource providers that go along with each task and strategy, you know, as part of the RPC effort here in North Dakota. And those regional, those public health departments that you mentioned are definitely included in some of those tasks and strategies in North Dakota here. So yeah, the resource providers are it's a much more broad group than just the RFBC partners. We'll be leaning on a lot of groups who are already doing some great work and just kind of help build on that and support that as part of the RFBC. But Lori, Cheryl, jump in to add anything to that.
Okay, the next one, what sort of data is collected? What sort of criteria is part of the feasibility of these projects?
I can take that one. I'm assuming you're talking about the food hub in the Minot area. So if I'm wrong, I apologize. But for that project, we are, thank you for verifying that. We are working in 3 different pods of collecting information and then trying to bring it together under one roof. So we are first off collecting data from grocers. What type of volume are they purchasing? What suppliers are they using? How frequently are they supplied? So we can get an idea of how large of a space they need, how often they need a truck, you know, some idea of what they need for operating a business. With local food producers, we are reaching out to ask them, what do you currently grow? Do you wish to grow more? Do you need marketing help? Are you interested in shared space? And learning again, like what type of a facility would we need for them? What type of equipment, how much space, how frequently would they use it? And then on the Great Plains Food Bank side, we are doing a feasibility study to collect more data about the needs in that region. They've already done a transportation study that's identified that they are in need of a distribution site up in the Minot area. So we're just doing a little bit more work to learn what size of facility they would need as well. And then on top of that, we'll bring it all together to identify those synergies of how they feed each other and benefit each other. They can share staff, they can share trucks, they can purchase even larger together, all 3 of them. You know, what is it that we can do to make it more successful? And I think the great thing about it is that we're hoping to use the cooperative model because cooperatives help you get those services you need to help your independent business stay sustainable.
And there's profit sharing in the cooperative models typically, whether it's employee or owners. And so it's really awesome. Lori, in addition to that, other projects that will, Olivia, a great question, by the way. The other projects that are coming forward that may come forward for any of these awards, they either have business plans or market analysis, as Lori said, some feasibility, and the data that's collected is such a variety of places, including from healthcare providers, community benefit, community plans that they have, and all of the information that we can get from state and federal sources. But some of it is really local anecdotal information as well, particularly when we're working in areas like tribal communities where some of that data is really harder to gather. And so we're making sure that we're reflecting, you know, what we hear in terms of local needs as inputs to feasibility as well.
Okay. So I do have a question. I'm curious as to, and it's kind of a big question. How did we get here? I know that obviously there's food is processed in these large centers and it's shipped all these miles. There's got to be a better way than this, right?
Nothing against large scale aggregators and distributors, and that's a necessary component of the food economy. I think that's important, but there are systems that help growers and ranchers and those that are small that are better suited. Like the analogy that I try to use, Chris, is in the why we're here and how do we get here is that we recognized, obviously, and Lori, do please chime in, that when you have different models serve different businesses better. And so when you do direct to consumer, you make more money as a farmer than you do when you sell through a supply chain. And so that just understanding that one size does not fit all. And so that's how we got here is to make sure that we can help businesses scale up based upon where they are and pending the needs that they have. For a very long time in my career here, and many of you who have been doing this longer than I understood that many of these opportunities were really geared towards those that had more capacity and were already past the point of real high risk. And so this industry is high risk no matter what, but in terms of even just the industry, there are different levels. And so that's why we got here, is to recognize one size doesn't fit all. But please, Chris, Lori, Kacy, please add to that.
Yes, I could add, in North Dakota, as I'm sure you're all aware, we have a long ways to go. Like we have local foods producers, but they're smaller. We've had trouble accessing markets because our population base is small and we have large distances between our cities. And we've have yet to have a long-standing successful local foods hub. So I think this investment in technical assistance to support producers, because you're also busy producing the food, and rightfully so, but it's hard to get it to expand, to take advantage of value-added opportunities, to seek the grant funding, get the right technical assistance. I feel this concerted investment to help us move towards getting our food into our own local food system is incredible.
Okay. Well, it's right at 11 o'clock, so we'll cap it right there. Thank you to our excellent presenters, Kacy, Cheryl, Lori, and Chris, for your time. If you have any questions about any of these programs, feel free to reach out to any of our guest speakers. This recording, and along with many of our great webinars, can be found on our YouTube channel by searching North Dakota Farmers Union. Thank you all for joining us today, and have a great day.
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you,
Thank
North
you.
Dakota Farmers Union. Thank you.
Thank you.